Today, the nation and the world are celebrating the life and legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King.
Dr. King dedicated his life to bring peace, justice, and equality to those who felt voiceless.
The Reverend Jesse Jackson Sr. is here to remind us why Dr. King should be celebrated. Good morning. Thank you so much for joining us today.
He brought down walls and built bridges. When Alabama and the Clemson played the big football game in California last week, the big
National
game.
championship game.
A federal marshal had to take Harvey Grant to Clemson in 1960. Federal marshal had to take Arthur and Lucy to school in Alabama. Now look at those kids playing together on the big stage because walls came down and bridges were built. Blacks in Chicago, we could not live west of Ashland Avenue without fair housing, so that he really used his faith to affect unjust laws.
Mm-hmm. And you worked so closely with Dr. King at a young age. Tell us more about what kind of man he was.
First of all, he was he finished high school at 15. He finished college at 19. Seminary degree at 22 and his PhD at 26. Very smart guy. But he didn't carry it. He didn't make you feel uncomfortable, should I say. For him, 19 and a half was half of his life. And he was willing to put it all on the line to bring about change. And so now we take for granted many of the changes that we see today. I was with him his last birthday. That morning around 8 o'clock, he had breakfast with his family at home. Around 10, he came to the church with blue jeans on and a dungaree jacket. And he had some whites, some Appalachians, some blacks, some Latinos, Native Americans, some Jewish people, a war on how to end the war in Vietnam and revive a war on poverty at home. Today you look at 800,000 workers who are without a paycheck. As we build exotic weapons to kill people, he would be dead set against that.
You know, that's a question I want to ask, is you're the best guy to answer this with the relationship you shared with Dr. Martin Luther King. In the world we're in here, you touched on a little bit of it there, but in 2019, as we sit here today, and there's still a lot of unrest, we've come a long way, but as Mike P. said earlier in the show, we still got a long way to go. How do you think Dr. Martin Luther King would feel about the world that we maneuver in currently?
Well, he would be glad that we have the right to vote protected. The reason why we've had 3 African-American senators from U.S. senators from Illinois, a black lieutenant governor from Illinois today, a Jewish governor and a black lieutenant governor, that's part of his work. The victories we had November the 6th when Democrats took the Congress back to create some check and balance on the Trump phenomenon, because we have the right to vote. In 65, blacks couldn't vote. White women couldn't serve on juries. 18-year-olds who were serving in Vietnam couldn't vote. You couldn't vote bilingually. You couldn't vote on college campuses. That's a new majority. That's what elected Barack Obama, that new majority of people empowered to vote. So of the things he did, bringing down barriers of fear and walls of segregation, I think the Voting Rights Act would be the lasting, most powerful legacy.
Yeah. So for the past 50 years, you have continued his work with Operation Push right here in Chicago and doing the work around the world. Let's talk about some of the things that are happening today. Jason Van Dyke just got his sentencing last week. 6 years, 81 months, just over 6 years. He might serve a little bit over 3 years. What's your reaction to that?
Well, justice was covered up. When Hadia was killed, Pendleton, her name?
Hadia Pendleton, yes.
The killer got 84 years. 18-year-old boy got 84 years. Van Dyke got 6 years, minus 3 for good behavior. What the gap between 84 years? The police shot a kid in the back and shot him on the ground 16 times and got like 6 years, minus 3 for good behavior. The police who saw it lied and they cover up. They walked away free. The judge, I might add, when he was 28 years old, he shot an M1 rifle in the next door neighbor's house. And when the police came, he shot in the house again twice. Nearly hit the police. He ran upstairs in his house, and they would not arrest him. He said, I will not come down until you bring a priest to my house. But here's a judge himself who is incriminated based on his own behavior. The judge and the guys who witnessed and lied about it, they walked. It undermines the credibility. We need the police force. But when you lie in that way, you undermine its moral authority.
It's very true.
You know,
so I think what we're going to do, we're going to file a civil rights lawsuit now, like the guys who beat Rodney King, the local people in in the valley in California. They let him go. They filed civil rights. So now the next step is to file a federal civil rights lawsuit against Van Dyke and to subpoena the witnesses who were involved in the conspiracy.
Are you saying that's what you all plan to do?
Go and do that.
Oh, wow. Okay.
That's big news, and that's taking a stand and taking action here. And it's something you've done your whole life, Reverend, and I'm glad as you open up the paper today on Monday, January 21st, on such a special day, here is what you see on the cover of the Chicago Sun-Times, everybody. I'm going to hold that up. Milestone memories, and I think you recognize those faces right there. You've got Martin Luther King, Dr. Martin Luther King, and kneeling down talking to him is Reverend Jesse Jackson right there. And if you open this up, you've got even more pictures and an article about Chicago Steps. You two worked so closely together. It's amazing to think, with all you've been able to do in your lifetime, Reverend, if you had Dr. Martin Luther King alongside you in today's world, even more of an impact and even greater moves we could make.
I do every day. In the real sense, you know, I have lived longer since he died than he lived. He lived to be 39. 39. He died 51 years ago. But he's the kind of guy, if you internalize him, you live him out every day in some way. Learning how to love and not hate people. Learning how to embrace and not reject people. Learning how to build multiracial coalitions. We've learned to survive apart. We must now learn to live together. And those are difficult because sometimes these barriers between us are so high. But beyond the barriers is ignorance, hatred, fear, and violence. So bring the bridge, wall down, build a bridge. To think that we would be having border babies by the thousands in cages on our border, and threatening people militarily who are escaping their lives for freedom today, and 800,000 workers without a job and having to work and not get paid. That's slavery. If you have to work. Have to work, can't get paid, that's slavery.
That's what's happening right now with the shutdown.
It's unfair and unnecessary. The drugs are coming because we simply, we consume the most drugs. We buy the most drugs. So that the drugs are coming through the courts and cars, sea and air. They're not coming, people coming across the desert.
Not coming from the border with the wall is not the fix there.
Not where they're coming from. But because we consume the most drugs and we buy the most drugs, it's the drug market that's the issue, not the drug dealer. If they brought sand across the border, we wouldn't buy the sand. Okay. We are buying the most drugs, and we consume the most drugs of any nation in the country, in the world, and the burden should be on us. If we put a wall around our appetites, zip up our pocketbooks.
Okay. Reverend Jackson, thank you so much. We know you're headed to your annual MLK breakfast right now.
And somebody won't be there. Somebody won't be there today.
I am trying to get out of work. Let's talk to my boss. I'm trying to get out of work. All right, Reverend Jackson, thank you so much. Thank you. We certainly appreciate your time. And if you would like to participate in upcoming events, Rainbow Push Coalition, they have a list on their website. Again, is their breakfast, their annual MLK breakfast going on today at the Hyatt Regency Hotel.
8 o'clock breakfast.
8 o'clock breakfast. All right, head to rainbowpush.org for more information.